This pre-application information session is for the OVW fiscal year 2024 Healing and Response Teams Special Initiative. This solicitation was posted around May 14th, 2024. My name is Jenny Mills, and I'm a Grants Management Specialist with OVW's Tribal Affairs Division. Today, I'm going to be reviewing information about this new special initiative focused on building healing and response teams in missing or murdered Indigenous persons cases involving domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, stalking, and sex trafficking. My colleague, Mary Mama, is joining me today to monitor the chat and question box. We will answer questions at the end of this webinar. It's recommended that you have the solicitation with you as you view this pre-application information session. This session will highlight key points related to the solicitation. All applicants are responsible for reading the solicitation and the OVW FY 2024 Solicitation Companion Guide to ensure that a complete application is submitted. The Healing and Response Teams Special Initiative was created in response to recommendations by the Not Invisible Act Commission, or NIAC, to support the creation, training, and sustainability of healing and response teams, or HRTs, using a tribal-based model of care in missing or murdered Indigenous persons cases. The Not Invisible Act was enacted in October of 2020. The NIAC was created under that act. The NIAC held a series of field meetings in 2022 and 2023 to develop recommendations for the Department of Justice, the Department of the Interior, and Congress. The recommendations were issued through the Not One More report. Recommendations E1 and E2 under Chapter 5 of the report described the need for healing and response teams. The NIAC noted that there is a lack of coordination of services at the local level, and that long-term service provision was often unavailable. The NIAC recommended funding the creating, training, and sustainability of HRTs, which would provide a victim-centered source of support using Indigenous integrated care models. The NIAC also recommended federal funding to support HRTs to ensure they are delivering Native-led, culturally appropriate, victim-centered, trauma-informed responses. The HRT Special Initiative is the first OVW program focused entirely on the intersection of missing or murdered Indigenous persons cases and the crimes of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, stalking, and sex trafficking. OVW's Tribal Governments program has two limited purpose areas related to developing policies, protocols, and training for law enforcement, and compiling and reporting data on MMIP. But this program will support the creation of HRTs to work directly with the families of MMIP. Healing and response teams have not been widely studied or replicated. OVW hopes to gain a clear understanding of various models of healing and response teams. OVW understands that a one-size-fits-all approach is not possible given the diversity of tribal populations across the nation. What may work for a tribe in Oklahoma may not work for an urban Indian organization in Minnesota or a remote village in southwestern Alaska. To that end, collaboration with 3 different pilot sites referred to as subrecipients in the solicitation will be a critical piece of this project. This will allow us to understand how the different models work and gain insight into how they might be replicated in different communities. The different HRT models will be identified through a nationwide assessment and analysis of response models in MMIP cases involving domestic violence, sexual assault, dating violence, stalking, and sex trafficking using tribal-based models of care. The successful applicant will be required to collaborate closely with OVW and the pilot sites at all stages of this project. Please note that you should not include any potential pilot sites in your application. Now that you've had a brief overview of the HRT Special Initiative, we're going to talk more about the application contents and application process. OVW will make one award for up to $2 million. The period of performance for this award is 36 months, and the anticipated start date is October 1st, 2024. The first 3 months of the project will involve substantial planning with OVW. This solicitation was posted in early May to coincide with Missing and Murdered Indigenous People Awareness Month. The solicitation will remain open until June 27th. Applications are submitted through a two-step process and involve the navigation of multiple systems. The first part of the submission process is to submit the SF424 and SFLLL in grants.gov by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on June 25th, 2024. We strongly encourage you to submit the required grants.gov document at least 48 hours prior to the grants.gov deadline to allow for time to correct any problems or errors. Applicants who miss this first deadline will be unable to submit applications. Once the grants.gov submission is complete, a new application will automatically be created in Just Grants. The full application must be submitted in Just Grants by 8:59 p.m. Eastern Time on June 27th, 2024. The HRT Special Initiative has 6 required purpose areas. First, a nationwide assessment and analysis of MMIP response models must be completed. This assessment and analysis is critical to understanding what different models currently exist and what models should be implemented by the pilot sites. Models should reflect tribal models of care, including accessible services, community participation, culture, self-determination, and empowerment. Next, the applicant will be required to identify and submit for OVW approval 3 organizations that will serve as pilot sites: a tribal government, a tribal coalition, and an urban Indian or other tribal nonprofit. These pilot sites should be from differing tribes, subsets of tribal nations, states, regions, or local geographic communities. The pilot sites will be subrecipients of the applicant, and the applicant must be able to make and monitor subawards. The third purpose area requires the applicant to complete a report that will outline guidelines, principles, and recommendations for HRTs. This report will assist the applicant to develop an HRT toolkit under Purpose Area 4. It is important to keep in mind at all stages of this project that developed tools should be applicable to a wide range of audiences and include content tailored to different users, such as tribally led, community-based organizations, Indian tribes, and urban Indian organizations. The applicant will be expected to provide training and technical assistance to the pilot sites as they implement the HRT model. Again, this project relies on heavy collaboration. The successful applicant should have a range of TTA tools at their disposal to provide this guidance for the pilot sites. Finally, the applicant will be expected to plan and deliver 1 national in-person implementation workshop for tribal governments, tribal coalitions, tribal nonprofits, and urban Indian programs interested in developing a healing and response team approach to MMIP for their community. This will take place in the final year of the project. The applicant should review OVW guidelines on conference planning and expenditure limitations, referenced on page 15 of the solicitation. Next, we'll talk a bit about out-of-scope activities and some specific programmatic requirements under the solicitation. Research projects are out of scope for this project. While this project involves assessment and analysis of HRT models and pilot sites' use of those models, a systematic investigation is not being proposed, and findings are not being collected with the intention of being applied to a broader non-native population or in situations not involving MMIP. For further clarification on research, please review the OVW Solicitation Companion Guide. We have previously noted that pilot sites and applications focused on a single tribe, subset of tribal nations, state, region, or local geographic community will not be considered. The applicant or primary recipient cannot provide direct victim services under this award. That activity is only within scope for the pilot sites, as they will be the ones implementing the HRT models and working with the families of MMIP. Finally, an important thing to note related to scope is that this program can only support activities in MMI cases where it is suspected that the person's MMIP status is due to being a victim of domestic violence, dating violence, sexual assault, stalking, or sex trafficking. OVW funds cannot be used to support activities in MMIP cases where the person's status is related to substance misuse, being unhoused, avoiding law enforcement, being a runaway, etc. This special initiative has a unique structure and will involve planning with OVW to create a timeline and set expectations for how the work is to be done. A 3-month planning period with OVW will allow us to discuss criteria for the pilot sites and discuss ways to identify the sites. This involvement of pilot sites is a critical piece of this project. Planning may involve travel to in-person meetings and/or substantial meeting time with OVW. Applicants may want to include funds for travel to Washington, D.C. for a planning meeting in their budgets. Additionally, the applicant will be expected to enter into memorandums of understanding with and make subawards to the 3 OVW-approved subrecipients. Applicants must also allocate funds to support a full-time project coordinator for this position. This person will manage the project, including collaborating with OVW and identifying and monitoring the pilot sites. Now let's talk about eligibility. The intended audience for the tools and resources developed under this award will be tribal governments, tribal coalitions, and other tribal organizations. Eligible entities are national, tribal, statewide, or other nonprofit organizations, and they must have the capacity to provide tribal-specific TTA on a national level. OVW may also consider institutions of higher education, tribal governments, or governmental agencies, for example, police departments, prosecutors' offices, or probation departments, or local nonprofit organizations. However, in such circumstances, those entities must describe in detail their demonstrated history of providing tribal-specific TTA and include justification in the application that they have delivered TTA to a national audience. This is a large and complex project. It may not be possible for one applicant to meet all of the eligibility criteria. An applicant can partner with others to satisfy the criteria. The required expertise and experience must be documented in the Who Will Implement section of the proposal narrative. Next, we'll discuss the application and submission information. The formatting and technical requirements are laid out on page 10 of the solicitation. Please pay careful attention to this section as points may be deducted if you do not adhere to the requirements. There are 2 required application documents, the narrative and the budget. Failure to include either of these documents means your application will not be considered. The proposal narrative cannot exceed 25 pages. It should be double-spaced except for tables and will be uploaded as an attachment in JustGrants. The proposal narrative should include the 3 required sections listed on pages 11 and 12 of the solicitation. The purpose of the proposal section is worth 15 points. This section tells us about your understanding of emerging issues, challenges, and gaps in responses to MMIP cases that are related to domestic violence, sexual assault, dating violence, stalking, and sex trafficking. We also want to hear about the expected impact of your proposed project. This section is not asking for statistics about MMIP. The What Will Be Done section is worth 45 points. Applicants should discuss the project goals, objectives, and activities in detail. Applicants should carefully review all 7 items that are listed and address each of them. The activities being proposed should be clearly linked to the gaps and challenges discussed in the previous section. This section should tell us what it is you plan to do during this 3-year project, including what products you'll create and how you will disseminate them. The Who Will Implement section is worth 30 points. This section tells us about your organization and any partner's capacity and expertise to accomplish the activities identified in the What Will Be Done section. It's important to clearly demonstrate your or your partner's experience providing tribal-specific TTA on a national level. There are 8 items listed in the solicitation. Make sure to address each of them. If an applicant is working with partners, it is important to discuss those partners as well. Remember, applicants should not be proposing pilot sites during the application phase. Budgets and budget narratives will be submitted as attachments. The budget must reflect a full 36 months of activity. The budget must support a full-time project coordinator. A sample budget is included as an appendix to the solicitation, and a webinar on creating a budget is available on the OVW website. The budget must also include $675,000 for subawards for the subrecipients, no more than $225,000 per subrecipient. Budget should include the required OVW training and technical assistance set aside, $15,000 for applicants from the 48 contiguous states, and $20,000 for applicants from the territories of Hawaii and Alaska. All budgets should include adequate funds to address language access and accessibility needs. If you have other resources to cover the cost of those services, please note that in your budget. All project partners should be fairly compensated for their contributions. In the next couple of slides, we're going to focus on aspects of your application that relate to the documents that our financial team, the Grants Financial Management Division, or GFMD, reviews. More specifically, we'll discuss some items that GFMD has identified from prior year's applications that could help with expediting our review process. So for today, we're going to highlight certain aspects of the pre-award risk assessment and provide you with a link to a detailed webinar on how to develop the budget that will be included in your application. First, we'll highlight the items identified in the summary data sheet, which is completed by all applicants. Specifically, 2 items that we would like to discuss are the single audit response and the IRS 3-step safe harbor procedure. OVW requests that all applicants provide a statement as to whether they have expended $750,000 or more in federal funds during their last fiscal year. If they have, then they indicate that and also specify the end date of their last fiscal year. However, GFMD is finding that applicants do not always include all of this information. Please ensure that this question is answered in its entirety on the summary data sheet, question number 3. Another item that we'd like to highlight from the solicitation is specifically for nonprofit organizations. If you use the IRS 3-step safe harbor procedure to determine your executive's compensation, you are required to provide a disclosure letter. Please refer to the solicitation for further details and a link to a sample letter. Note that there are 4 required parts of this disclosure letter. The sample letter provided outlines all 4 parts of the disclosure, so please be sure to follow the sample and provide a response to each of the 4 pieces. The next item that we'd like to discuss is the pre-award risk assessment questions, which assist GFMD during their pre-award risk assessment review for all applications. Each applicant must prepare a response to all 11 questions, and each question has multiple parts. We've noticed from prior years that applicants do not always fully answer all parts of the questions, which in turn requires GFMD to reach out to the applicant, and which may delay funding decisions. Some of the most common issues that we've encountered have been, for example, question number 2, where the applicant indicates that they do indeed have internal policies, but they don't provide a brief list of topics covered in the policies and procedures. On question number 3, some applicants fail to provide a brief summary of the organization's process for tracking expenditures, and more specifically, whether or not it tracks budgeted versus actual expenditures. These are just a few examples, but in general, please make sure that you read each piece of each question and provide a full and comprehensive response. The next slides will highlight some resources that are available as you're creating the budget to be submitted with your application. Over the last couple of years, GFMD has developed a detailed webinar presentation on how to develop a budget to be submitted with OVW applications. This presentation addresses some of the challenges that you may face with your budgets and provides some insight on OVW's budget review process. This webinar can be found at the link on this slide. Next up is the uniform guidance, which can be found at 2 CFR 200. You can use your favorite search engine for this one. Other resources include the DOJ financial guide and the solicitation itself. We know this can be a lot of information to process, so if you have any questions about the GFMD information discussed, please feel free to contact the GFMD help desk at 888-514-8556 or by email at ovw.gfmd@usdoj.gov. Finally, we're going to discuss how to apply and some tips for applying. Please ensure you are registered in sam.gov, grants.gov, and Just Grants, and all accounts are active by June 4th. The deadline to complete the first step of the process in grants.gov is June 25th. Step 1 involves the submission of 2 standard forms for federal funding. These are the SF-424, or Application for Federal Assistance, and SF-LLL, which is the Disclosure of Lobbying Activities. After submitting these forms, the applicant will receive an email notification from Just Grants to complete the rest of the application in Just Grants. The full application must be submitted in Just Grants by June 27th, 2024. Applicants will complete the proposal abstract, summary data sheet, and applicant questionnaire in Just Grants. These items are not scored. For more information, please review page 11 of the solicitation. The proposal narrative and budget will be submitted as attachments in Just Grants. There are some additional required documents that must be submitted with the application. A sample template for the letter of non-supplanting and the confidentiality notice form can be found on OVW's website under Resources for Applicants. The other forms listed on the slide are built into Just Grants and will be included in the application package. Please note there is a helpful checklist located on page 25 of the solicitation that you can use to track the required documents. Applicants experiencing Just Grants technical issues should ensure that they are continuing to develop the proposal while they are working with the OVW Just Grants support desk to address any issues. Applicants must follow the solicitation guidance regarding technical difficulties. Instructions must be followed to the letter. Be sure to keep documentation that you did follow the guidance. This will enable you to submit a full proposal by the deadline using an alternate method only if necessary. OVW will take the necessary steps to ensure that applicants are able to submit their applications on time and will update our submission guidance as necessary and as the due date nears. Some steps, such as registering with the System for Award Management, sam.gov, or grants.gov, may take several days or even weeks to complete. There's no way to speed up these registration processes. Therefore, we recommend that applicants confirm their registrations are current or begin their registration as soon as possible, but no later than the date suggested in the solicitation. It is the responsibility of the applicant to ensure that they are properly registered with sam.gov, grants.gov, and Just Grants. Here are some common application challenges. Not reading the solicitation to understand eligibility or program requirements. Make sure you meet all solicitation requirements before you spend valuable time completing the application. Not allowing enough time to complete registration or activate accounts in grants.gov, sam.gov, and Just Grants. Start this process early to mitigate problems before the time of submission and ensure that all accounts are active by June 4th. Ignoring formatting requirements. Pay attention to page limits. Remember to use the headings and subheadings from the solicitation and the narrative. Failing to submit a 36-month budget. This solicitation requires a 36-month project and budget. OVW provides resources for applicants. Available on that site, you will find the solicitation companion guide, sample budget, sample MOUs, tips and examples, a link to the DOJ financial guide, program-specific information, and much more. In this slide, we have contact information. This is the same information that is printed in the solicitation. If you have any questions related to the program, you can reach out to ovw.tribalspecialinitiative@usdoj.gov. For financial questions, you can reach out to ovw.gfmd@usdoj.gov. For grants.gov support, you can reach out to support@grants.gov. And for OVW Just Grants support, you can reach out to ovw.justgrantsupport@usdoj.gov. And now we'll open it up to questions.
Jenny, there's one question in the chat. They want to know if Native Hawaiian organizations are eligible to apply.
This particular solicitation is open to tribal governments, tribal organizations with a focus on tribal communities. So unfortunately, it does not extend to Native Hawaiians at this time. Are there other questions? If you want to be unmuted to ask a question, please provide a question in the chat or the Q&A.
There are no questions in the chat or the Q&A, Jenny.
Okay, well, if there are no further questions, then we can go ahead and, oh, it looks like there may be. It looks like there's one question. Oh, I will unmute you.
Okay, thank you, Jen, for the submission. My question is, I tried to register with some registration, but I got challenges. I didn't complete. And another thing, when I was about to complete, it asked me to attach the documents. And I asked myself, which kind of documents can I attach? My second question is, yesterday I tried to fill the form of SM 424, and again I
I'm so sorry, John. The connection doesn't appear to be stable and I can't hear you.
for SM.
John, if we would type your question in the chat, your connection is not stable enough. We cannot hear you. So would you please type your question in the chat and we can answer it that way.
And John, it sounds like you're asking for assistance with the SAM.gov registration process. And that is a separate help desk that I can provide the email for. I'm just looking that up for you right now.
There is a question in the chat, Jenny. Nicoletta would like to know, where do we find a copy of the slides or recording?
Nicoletta, we will be posting that onto our resources for applicants webpage. It will take probably about a week to get up there, but once that has been posted, you'll have the entire recording of this session, a transcript of this session, and the slides for this session. And John, for your sam.gov issues, you're going to want to reach out to their help desk. They have a phone number that is 1-866-606-8220. Okay, are there any other questions?
I just put that information in the chat, Jenny.
Thank you.
Yes. There are no other questions in the chat or the Q&A.
John has an additional question. John, for any of the issues with you trying to register on sam.gov, you're going to need to contact that help desk. I am unable to give you guidance on that. We don't operate that particular website or have any involvement in that particular process. So you'll need to have that conversation with them. Okay, are there any further questions related to the solicitation? Okay, well, at this time, then we'd like to thank you for joining us today. As I had said earlier, we will have the slides, this recording, and a transcript available on our OVW website, hopefully within the next week. And at this time, we will go ahead and close the webinar. Thank you so much for your time and have a great rest of your day. Thank you.